When my friend named Jarek was probably a kid, maybe 7 years old, something freaky happened when back in 2005, and he was just a young kid at the time. Jared was a young kid, but however, something really freaky happened when he went to Party City with his mom. His mom took him to Party City to get some stuff ready for his birthday party that was coming up in the next week. He couldn't wait to turn 8 years old, and he was still 7 at the time, and he couldn't hardly wait to turn 8. He couldn't wait because he couldn't wait to get the presents from his friends, even school friends for that matter. However, while his mom was picking out the balloons and getting some stuff for the party, Jared decided to go to the candy aisle. As he was at the candy aisle, he looked to see that there was a strange man that he had never seen before. Jared looked up at the man, who seemed to be maybe in his mid-40s. He didn't exactly know who he was, so he was with his older sister, who was at least 10 years old. The man then noticed the two kids and walked up towards them. Jared didn't really understand what he was wanting to do, but the older sister kind of had a bad feeling about it. The man walked up to the two kids and smiled. "Hey, I have some kids, basically. Well, kids in my house, but I also have some candy. Want to go get some?" Now, Jared was like the young kid, but didn't really understood what was going on. And at that point, that was when his sister told him that, "Oh, we have to be somewhere in about a half an hour. See you later." The two kids left. But however, the man tried his best to try to get to the kids by following them. But they told their mom, and the mom told the manager, and they don't remember what happened after that. It wasn't until a couple years later when the conversation was brought up, and this is what Jared found out. The man that asked him and his sister to come to his car for candy was actually planning to kidnap the two kids. Very surprisingly, the sister knew about the stranger danger thing, but Jared was still learning, even though he had some disabilities. The best thing that could be said was that Jared and his sister never got kidnapped by this man, or even the man didn't try anything. And when the mom found out about what was going on, she immediately told the manager of the store, and she called the cops, and the man was arrested. He had tried to lure young kids into thinking that there was candy in the vehicles. But thankfully, though, none of that had happened, and this still doesn't happen since then. But Jared felt pretty shocked. He wasn't sure what this man wanted to do with him, but he could only guess that it was probably something not good. Nothing like that has happened since then, but Jared, every time he goes into a party city, he always remembers that time when he and his sister could have almost been kidnapped. So this happened to one of my older friends, and this happened back in 2013 when her son, which we'll call Michael, was about 5 years old. Michael was having some kind of party at his place, and his mom invited at least a couple of his friends from school and some from the neighborhood that didn't go to school with him to come to his party. The party was going to be a lot of fun, as he invited a clown to perform tricks and even do some silly crazy things to entertain the kids. While the clown, which his name will not be mentioned for reasons, was actually doing some neat things to entertain the kids. He was dressed up kind of like Major Bedhead from the Big Comfy Couch. Well, sort of, not really, but he kind of did. But in the same time, while the parents were ordering pizza for the kids and getting the cake set up, the clown was doing lots of crazy things. There were about maybe 15 kids at the party, including maybe 2 extra kids that did show up because they did get invited, but they decided to come in last minute for some complications with their vacations or something. Now, during this time, the clown was actually doing his performing tricks, like magic tricks and balloon tricks. The mom, which we'll call her Angie, just sat there and smiled and remembering the times when she was a young kid, when birthday parties were popular where she was. Of course, when the clown had finished, he was about to go outside and go to his van to get some stuff. However, he looked and talked to Michael, who was about 5, but didn't really understood. Now, Angie started to get a bad feeling. She didn't know what it was, but she had a feeling that the clown was probably trying to do something. And of course, the clown was not really paying attention to Angie. The clown looked and said, "Hey Michael, I got a really good special birthday present for you. Want to come with me?" he said. He took Michael by the hand, and that's when Angie realized something was not right. When Angie walked outside, you could see that the van he came in was actually a van with the words "free candy and toys" on it. That's when Angie had to act fast, as she remembered that she was almost abducted when she was a young kid, and many of her other friends have. So she went out and said, "Hey, what are you doing with my son?" The clown got scared and let go of the boy as Michael ran towards Angie, and the clown jumped into his car and drove off. He drove off so fast that Angie couldn't really see what his car looked like. All we know is it's kind of like a little van of some sort. When Angie walked up to Michael, she hugged him and said that she was so worried that the clown could have kidnapped him. Michael didn't really understand it, but of course his mom decided that it was best that he doesn't know for now. The party was of course paused for a little bit as Angie called the police and explained the situation, explained what the van and the name of the person and even for what he looked like. The police are still on the hunt for this person, Sin, who dressed up as a clown. But the thing is though, is that they had never found him, or at least they never updated the parents on where they found him or anything like that. The thing was though, is that if Michael went into that car with that man, chances are he could have been kidnapped. But I don't know what could have happened if Angie didn't act up sooner, or at least she didn't act up at all. Chances were she could have lost her child. Now, they're not sure about the person who is still around today, but I like to feel that he is in prison for what he should have or was about to do. This happened to me, Nate, when I was about maybe, I guess, 6 years old. Something freaky really happened at a birthday party. Now, my mom and dad were getting things ready for the birthday party as I invited a few of my friends over. Something really freaky happened though. When the party was about to begin very soon, there was a bouncy tent and they got a pool ready for the young kids. Of course, the bouncy tent was brought in by a company, which I don't remember what the company's name was called, but we did have a bouncy tent at one point. Now, this was actually going to be a really cool birthday party, as it was outdoors, as it was a beautiful day, and it wasn't raining, so it wasn't really that bad. I was 6 years old at the time of this story, so nothing really bad was going on. However, though, I was going outside just to play out in the yard and bounce on the tent for a bit before my party guests come. But as I was bouncing, I heard someone walking across the tree line that was at the far back of my house, or backyard for that matter. I didn't really know what it was, so I decided to look, but I couldn't see. There was a big black blob or something like that, thinking that it might have been a bear or maybe just some man who happened to be tall and walking around the tree line. I got out of the bouncy tent and walked over towards it, but as I got closer, I walked very slowly, not wanting to startle it. However, though, I couldn't really see it as it was too far away from the tree line as it began to walk away. But I decided to sigh and thinking maybe I'll show my friends that. When my friends came for my birthday party, we all bounced on the bouncy tent for a bit, and I said that I saw the blob again. And I saw that black figure again while bouncing on the bouncy tent, and I knew it was my chance for my friends and I to see what it was. I told my friends I saw something, and since we were about 6, 7, maybe some of us were even 5, we'd put on our shoes from the bouncy tent after getting off the bouncy tent, and we walked over to what the big black thing was. As we got a little closer, we came across the fence that was not far, and we could see that this figure wasn't anything human-like. From one of our point of view, it could have been a bear, and that's what we all thought it was, a bear. However, it didn't look like a man, as it had big long claws that reached almost about its feet, and its looked like a human ape-like creature. It looked at us as if it was alarmed, thinking it was going to, well, basically try to attack us. We were all just stared at what seemed to be the figure for about a good minute. But however, it then took off running into the woods, never to be seen again. I went to get my dad, and he went out to go see if anyone was out there, screaming and yelling, basically tell the dude to get off the property or he was gonna call the cops. But he never saw that figure, and he asked me what did I saw, and I said it was a black thing. It was a weird creature, is what I explained to my dad. But I don't remember if it was some man or maybe just some bear, which from my dad's point of view, it might have been maybe just some man trespassing the property. But to me, I knew what I saw. My friends and I still don't know what it was, but years went by, we still haven't seen anything like that, but nothing like that has ever happened since. But what I could definitely say was that it might have been a creature that lived long ago. They're probably extremely rare, and possibly very territorial when you get too close to them. I have no idea what this creature was, and I don't want to know if it will ever return. I seriously would like to think that this creature never showed up again. But the party went on for a little bit, but nothing like that has ever happened. And I'm still thankful that nothing like this has ever happened since. So this is a point of view of a kid who had a birthday party when she was 16 named Haley. Now, Haley was about to turn 16 in a few days, and she was home alone in her apartment. Everything was getting all ready as her birthday was about to approach, and she was getting some stuff ready for her party. Everything was all ready to go for the next day, and her parents were still at work very late, as they had work night shifts, have said certain times. One parent would work during the day, while the other one worked at night, so that was the case. But her mom had to work the night shift, and her dad had to go out and do a couple errands, so she was basically alone for a while. Haley was basically watching TV, and of course this happened around 2013, so it was actually no big of a surprise. As Haley was watching an episode of As the World Turns, she heard what seemed to be the phone ringing. She looked up and thinking it might have been a scam call, so she picked up the phone, but there was no reply or answer when she picked up. Thinking it was a scam call, she hung up. But it happened again, which was the phone rang again, and this time she picked it up. But she couldn't hear anybody, and she asked if anyone was on the other line. But there was nobody there. And as she hung up, she sat down and continued watching her show, when then all of a sudden, her dog started barking aggressively as if he was ready to attack. Haley got up, and thinking maybe it might have been maybe some squirrel or something he was barking at, but he looked to see that there was a figure. It looked like a man, about maybe 6'5", and he looked really scary. He looked like he was wearing a hoodie with some jeans, and this was honestly frightening. Of course, with that being said, that was when Haley began to panic, and he ended up calling her mom, saying someone was in the property. And then, of course, this figure began banging on the window, and that's when Haley ran to her room, which did have a window, thankfully, that could go to the balcony, and that's when she could call for help. But of course, the banging then stopped when sirens showed up, and of course police came to knock on her apartment. They had asked her if she knew the man, and ever since then, she had not had a break-in like that. So Haley was questioned by the police and asked her if she knew the man and stuff, and she said that the man had tried to call her for some reason. It is a possibility as the police couldn't trace the number. But with that being said, there is still no evidence to what could have caused this to happen. But Haley never had anything like that happen since then. But this man was probably drunk and wasted, and he is taken to a facility where he would get the help that he needs. Haley still doesn't know what could have happened if she didn't hear him the phone calling or anything like that. Chances were the guy could have eventually get to her. She's still frightened by this to this very day. but at this point, she never stayed home alone again for at least a year. When she was 17, nothing like that has ever happened, and she's more confident now, and this honestly still scares her to this very day. She still wonders if this guy was out there, or if he ever was released from prison. But that was something that she had no idea. And if that was the case, she hoped the man never came back for her.